Hello everybody, I hope you had a lovely April vacation. This is Mr. Fleming back with another algebra lecture. Alright, so today we're going to be learning about difference of squares, and I'll get to what that is in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to do a quick review of the stuff we've learned already. So the first thing we did was greatest common factor, also known as GCF. So say if you have a problem like this, 4x cubed minus 6x squared. You find out what's in common between the two terms, and then you can factor it out. So with the 4 and the 6, I know that they have a 2 in common. Okay, so write a 2. And there's x cubed here and x squared here, so I know that they have an x squared in common. Okay, pretty good. And then, so if I divide 4x cubed by 2x squared, I'm just going to get 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then x cubed divided by x squared is just x. And then if I take negative 6x squared divided by 2x squared, I'm going to get, well, negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. X squared divided by x squared is just 1. So it's just going to be 2x squared, 2x minus 3. So that's GCF. The next thing we learned about was the x method of factoring when you have these like three terms right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my x, and remember that I put the number at the end at the top, so that's going to be negative 6, and I'm going to put the number in the middle. In this case we have no number, but we know that's a negative 1. So then I have to figure out two numbers that multiply together to equal negative 6, and I need two numbers that when added together they equal negative 1. Well, when I think of negative 6, I'm automatically going to go with 2 and 3. And I know that if I have a negative 3 and I add it to 2, it's going to equal negative 1. So I'll write negative 3 here and 2 here. And I know my answer here would be x minus 3 and x plus 2. Great. And so today we're going to do another method of factoring. So in here, we have one more thing. So look at this one, x squared minus 16. Okay, so it doesn't look like we can do GCF because there's nothing in common between x squared and 16. And it doesn't look like something we can use the x method with because there's no middle term. Well, I'm going to challenge that. Let's make a middle term. So I can rewrite this as x squared plus 0x minus 16. This is just 0. Even though it's in front of an x, it's just 0. So these are the same. Okay, well now that I have three things like that, I can go to my x method. So I'll make my x, and I'll put the negative 16 at the top, and then I'll put the 0 at the bottom. So remember that two things have to multiply together to get negative 16, little multiplication, and add together to get 0. Oh my god, okay. So, well, for 16, I can think of, what about 4 and negative 4, right? And if I add those together, they're going to equal 0. They're going to just do that. Okay, perfect. So we know that x squared minus 16 can be factored to x plus 4, x minus 4. See that nice little pattern? Plus 4, minus 4. Because if you, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how this equals this. So if you go to your box, you have x plus 4, and then you have x minus 4, right? So do your box multiplication. X times x is x squared, and then 4 times x is 4x. Then you have negative 4 times x is going to be negative 4x. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. So when I write this all together, x squared plus 4x minus 16, well, these just cancel out, right? Because 4 minus 4 is just 0. So we're left with our x squared minus 16. Okay, so pretty good. Let's move on and try another example. All right, so the next example I want to do is x squared minus 25. So remember, just to conceptualize here, I can rewrite this as x squared plus 0x minus 25. If you do your x, we know that we'll put negative 25 at the top, and then we'll put 0 at the bottom. When I think of 25, I think of negative 5 and 5. Added up together, those are going to equal 0, right? So our answer is going to be x plus 5, x minus 5. So this is a nice little pattern, right? So I'm going to show you something. This is going to be in a formula in a way. All right. So the pattern goes as such. If you have something that's a squared minus b squared, like that, you can factor this to be a plus b, a minus b. And this is a great little trick that you can do to, to factor all your stuff. So let's do another example. We'll have 36 be a, and then x squared be b. Or sorry, the b squared. So like following this formula, okay, I know that 36 is 6 times 6, right? So I know that my a is going to be 6, and then the b is going to be x, right? So this would be 6 plus x, 6 minus x. Not too bad. And then we can take it even further. So let's do 4x squared minus 81. All right? So if I look at this one, I know, okay, so 2 times 2 is 4, right? And then, x times x is x squared. So my a is 2x. And then for 81, remember that 9 times 9 is 81. So I know that my answer is going to be 2x plus 9, 2x minus 9. All right. And then so if we go further a little bit more, we're going to do 49x squared minus 1. Okay. So remember that this is a difference of squares. So we're going to do plus and minus. Remember that 7 times 7 is 49. So I'll do 7x here. And then 1 times 1 is just 1. So 7x plus 1. And then 7x minus 1. So it's really helpful for this one to recognize what's a perfect square. And that's why we call it a difference of squares. This is a square, square minus a square. So make sure you memorize your perfect squares. So like you probably have done this before, but 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared. Make sure you have these down to memory. And so you can recognize them easily. It's gonna make your life a lot easier in math class, okay? So on your Delta Math assignment, there'll be a practice question on perfect squares. Make sure you know all the way up to 15. All right, so that's your homework for the week. Good luck, and hope you're doing well.